Hello there! The trailer for Tales of Arcadia Wizards just dropped yesterday, and besides being extremely excited about it, I have many theories and ideas of what I think will happen in the series at large. So this video is an exploration of my theory of what I believe is going to happen in this last installment of Tales of Arcadia. And so that you know, there are definitely spoilers for the other two series, Trollhunters and Three Below, so you have been warned. I believe that the series is going to start out with a past that we are already familiar with. We have Merlin and our new character, Duxie. Duxie wants to be Merlin's apprentice, but Merlin turns him down because Morgana turned bad. He doesn't want to have any more apprentices. Because of that, Merlin makes the amulet. There's the Battle of Killahead Bridge, where Morgana battles Merlin, and Merlin defeats her and goes into his stasis sleep for centuries. I believe in the meantime, Duxie somehow managed to use his magic to prolong his life and alter his appearance to keep himself young. I don't know how that happened, but I'd be really interested to know. And then we get the events of Trollhunters and Three Below. Through both of these, we get Duxie's kind of hinted at through here. He is a waiter at the restaurant where they eat at. He promotes Battle of the Bands. And after that, we don't really see much of him, but we can kind of assume from this clip in the trailer that he has taken up his role as the quiet and unrecognized hero of Arcadia Oaks. And we know that at the end of Trollhunters, Jim and the trolls, along with Merlin and Claire, left to find a new Heartstone in New Jersey. But we also know from Three Below that they came into trouble. In this episode of Three Below, when Toby calls Jim and Blinky explains that they are fighting an armored foe that requires their undivided attention. We don't know who that foe is, but I believe that he will come up later on in this story that will happen in Wizards. It's also important to note that during this time, Jim is still wearing the Eclipse armor and using the Eclipse blade. I believe also during this time, Merlin separates from the group, kind of doing his own thing. I believe he went to go find Camelot, and that Camelot is now a floating island in the sky. I don't know how that happened, but we have a lot of footage in the trailer that shows the same castle that we see as medieval Camelot as this floating island in the sky. So my guess is that Merlin found a way to preserve that and kind of hide it. So after the events of Three Below, we jump to Duxie, who receives a ghostly message from Merlin. And Merlin recognizes that there is trouble and he needs Duxie's help. Merlin needs the Guardians of Arcadia, which we can assume are Toby, the Creep Slayers, and the Trollhunters. Duxie goes to look for them, but he doesn't have to look very far because Blinky and Claire come to Merlin in his floating castle with Jim, who is in kind of a frozen chrysalis. Blinky explains that they barely escaped with their lives from New Jersey, and that armored foe that they were fighting almost killed them. And Jim is in a really terrible state, which is why they had to kind of encase him in this crystal to preserve his life, make sure that he wouldn't die. And they planned to bring him to Merlin to heal him. So they come to Camelot. Merlin explains the idea of the time continuum and how there is their antagonist for this series is called the Arcane Order. This is an order of beings that wreak havoc. We're not entirely sure what they do. My guess is that they would like to disrupt the time continuum. We get an image here of King Arthur. We know that it's something to do with medieval Camelot, and Merlin wants to try and stop that from happening. However, as they're talking, the castle is attacked by this same arcane order. And during the fight, Merlin is incapacitated in some way, and Duxie has to step up and lead the group instead. However, an accident happens, the time vortex opens to medieval Camelot, and because of the attack on the castle, they fall through into the past. So they wake up, it's Duxie, Claire, Steve, and the Gymsicle, and they are surrounded immediately by Knights of Camelot, who are astonished to find them, especially Jim. You can see the shock on the face of the knight here. And Jim has no idea what's going on. But what's really, really important to note here is that there is something sticking out of his armor where the amulet should be. Now that is either something that has grown from the armor or was stabbed into the armor. Either way, we can see from both the promotional photo and from a still in the trailer that Jim cannot use the Eclipse blade. He is using a gum sword instead. So whether this was a result of his battle with this armored foe that they were fighting in Three Below, whether or not that armored foe is part of the Arcane Order is up in the air. But Jim cannot use the Eclipse blade. Because the knights are suspicious, they take Jim and the rest of the people captive. Mostly Jim, because Jim is a troll. Jim is taken before King Arthur, and because we don't see much of Jim after that in clips of the trailer, I assume that he is incarcerated. I'm also making the assumption here that at this point the humans do not know about the trolls. This is because the Battle of Killahead Bridge that we find out through Trollhunters was between good trolls and bad trolls. And the only humans that were involved were Merlin and Morgana. And as Blinky points out in Trollhunters, when they kind of visit the past with Merlin, that none of the troll books talk about this, which means they didn't know that there were even humans there. So I think it can be safely assumed that in the past that we know from the series as a whole, humans do not know about trolls. However, we see later in the trailer Knights of Camelot fighting against trolls that we know, like Bular and Gunmar. So my guess is that Jim's appearance in Camelot alerts them to the presence of trolls, and they view them as a threat, so they're going to fight against the trolls. Now, it could be argued that humans already knew about trolls, but I don't know why they wouldn't just have fought against them or with them in the Battle of Killahead Bridge. So I think the only person who would really know about trolls is probably Morgana. Now, the entire timeline is altered because of the presence of Claire, Jim, Steve, and Duxie in the past. Now humans know about trolls. I think Morgana probably catches on to the fact that these kids are from the future, and she wants to know what happens and possibly alter it so that she won't be defeated in the Battle of Killahead Bridge. We see here that Claire and Duxie apparently find a connection between King Arthur and Toby. My guess is that King Arthur is his ancestor, so if King Arthur dies, Toby will have never existed. And so Morgana, in an effort to disrupt the timeline, attacks King Arthur and tries to kill him. As Duxie says, they have to make sure that the past still follows the same course, though. They're trying to keep the past as much as they can, otherwise the future will have changed so dramatically that it won't be what they know it. So they have to make sure that the same events still happen. As bad as it is, the Battle of Killahead Bridge still needs to happen. Morgana has to fight Merlin, and Merlin has to give up his magic to sacrifice himself to defeat her. The amulet still needs to be made, or there are no Trollhunters. So all of these things in the past still have to happen in order for the future to be there. I think it would be really interesting if there was a kind of moral ambiguity in that I think that Claire will be offered a position as Morgana's apprentice. I think this because in this picture you see Morgana and Claire on what appear to be friendly terms. And we also see Claire later on in the trailer using magic. She could learn the magic from Duxie, but I think it more plausible that she learns from Morgana. So while the kids are trying to keep the past the same, they come across past Merlin and past Dukesy, which is probably a very strange experience for present Dukesy. As you can see here in this picture, past Dukesy is in the barrel, upside down. So they all band together, they get Jim out of prison, and they go to fight the Battle of Killahead Bridge. While there, we meet past Blinky and past Dictatious, and we meet a new character called Callista. And I've heard rumors that Callista is a trickster troll, much like the one we saw in Three Below, who had the ability to start the day over and over and over again. And I think that would be a really cool addition to the team, especially in the Battle of Killahead Bridge, to give them a fighting advantage. I also have the theory that Callista is really Dea, the Deliverer, the first troll hunter. The reason I believe this is because she's the only major new character that we've never seen before. She's the right gender. Dea was a woman. And she's the right body type. And I think it very possible that if she does become the troll hunter, she would have changed her name to kind of go like as a title to become Dea the Deliverer. And she's also at the forefront of this picture, where right in the center, like she's leading them. And I think that is the biggest reason why I believe that she is Dea. So while they're fighting the Battle of Killahead, which involves not only Morgana and Gunmar, but also now King Arthur and his men, the Arcane Order shows up again. They somehow manage to work the time window and come into the past. So the kids have to find a way to beat them back, as well as having the past end up the same way, which it does. The Battle of Killahead Bridge still happens. Dea and the good trolls defeat Gunmar and send him and the Gum-Gums to the Darklands. Merlin defeats Morgana and sacrifices his magic to do that. And the rest of the group from the present goes back to the present with the Arcane Order. And present Dukesy has learned a lot in the past. He's gained a staff. He can command magic better than he did before. He and Merlin band together, and they are able to defeat the Arcane Order once and for all. And that is the end. That is my idea as to what the plotline for Wizards is going to be. Obviously, this is all just theory and just my thoughts, but I was really excited about them. I wanted to share. If you have any questions, put them down in the comments, or any other theories. I'd love to hear what you guys think, and can't wait until August 7th.